a 93.7 carat cabochon emerald, large enough to cover the center of your palm, valuable enough that conservative estimates in 2026 place it somewhere between 15 and 20 million pounds. For context, that is the annual education budget of a small sovereign nation. And Queen Elizabeth II made one decision about this stone that she never reversed for 70 years. She would not touch it, not once, not at a coronation banquet, not at a state wedding, not in private. And the reason has nothing to do with taste. It has to do with a political shadow connected to Hitler that Buckingham Palace has never directly acknowledged. Now, here is the question that nobody has answered cleanly. When Meghan Markle requested this exact tiara for her 2018 wedding, the Queen said no, definitively, finally, no. 6 months later, Princess Eugenie wore it at her own wedding. Same tiara, 6 months apart, two completely different answers. The palace said only that it was the right moment. That explanation has never satisfied anyone who looked at it carefully. And today, we are going to open the black tin trunk bearing the initials MHG that arrived at Buckingham Palace in 1943 and understand why the most powerful thing a monarch can possess is not what she chooses to wear, but what she chooses to hide. Here's what people misunderstand about Elizabeth and her jewelry. They assume the pieces she avoided were simply ones she didn't like, a matter of personal taste, aesthetic preference, the kind of explanation that closes a conversation before it becomes uncomfortable. But that framing doesn't survive contact with the evidence. According to royal correspondent Katie Nicholl, who covered the palace for over 2 decades, Elizabeth understood her jewelry collection the way military strategists understand terrain. Every piece was a signal. Every choice sent a message. Every absence communicated something as precisely as any presence. She wore jewelry every single day of her public life. 300 pieces documented in the royal collection, stored in a secure vault beneath Buckingham Palace. So, when she looked at certain objects and quietly set them aside and never came back to them, that is not indifference. That is a calculated decision. And the objects she chose to lock away tell a story she never gave a single interview about. Let's begin with the most dangerous origin story in the collection, the Greville Emerald Kokoshnik. According to Vincent Maylan's research into the Boucheron archives, the tiara was crafted by the Parisian jeweler Boucheron in 1919. Platinum setting, rose-cut diamonds, framing the central stone, the cabochon emerald at its heart, 93.7 carats. For scale, the famous Rockefeller emerald sold at Christie's in 2017 for over $5 million. It was 18.04 carats. The stone at the center of this tiara is more than 5 times that size. This is not a piece of jewelry. This is a geological event set in platinum, and Elizabeth II inherited it in 1953. She never wore it. 70 years, not once. The official explanation from the palace, when it surfaces at all, is always about aesthetics. Too dramatic, too commanding, didn't align with her visual restraint. But here's where that explanation stops holding together, because the woman who commissioned this tiara has a history that the palace has never once addressed directly. And if you think that omission is accidental, it isn't. Her name was Margaret Helen Greville. According to Sian Evans in her extensively researched book Queen Bees, 6 Brilliant and Extraordinary Society Hostesses Between the Wars, Greville was one of the most strategically connected women in Britain. She hosted the future King George VI and Queen Elizabeth on their honeymoon at her Surrey estate, Polesden Lacey. She cultivated royal relationships with the precision of a political operator, warm, generous, devoted to the crown. That is the version that gets told. But Evans documents what the polished version skips past. Margaret Greville attended the Nuremberg Rally in 1934. She returned to England by multiple documented accounts, enthusiastic about what she had witnessed, enthusiastic about Hitler, specifically. She traveled to Germany twice more before the war. She entertained Joachim von Ribbentrop, Hitler's ambassador to Britain, at her estate. She hosted senior figures of the Nazi high command at her dinner table. She was not a peripheral figure in that world. She was a willing, documented participant in it. And then she died in September 1942. 14 months later, in the middle of a war that had already killed millions across Europe, a black tin trunk bearing her initials arrived at Buckingham Palace. Stop here for a moment, because I want you to understand the scale of what arrived in that trunk. Over 60 individual pieces, made by Cartier, made by Boucheron, some of the finest stones ever assembled in private European hands. No full public inventory of the contents has ever been released. When journalist and jewelry historian Lauren Keener of the Court Jeweler spent years attempting to document confirmed pieces from the bequest, she could verify provenance on only a fraction of them. The rest remain officially unconfirmed. Now, in terms of financial scale, Queen Mary later purchased the Empress Maria Feodorovna sapphire choker for £6,000 in the late 1920s. That figure, in 2026 terms, represents roughly £400,000. And that was considered a bargain acquisition. The Greville collection as a whole, conservative estimates from royal jewelry specialists place its current value somewhere between £80 and £120 million. £80 to £120 million, arriving in a tin trunk from a woman who had been a documented guest of honor at Nazi party events. And the palace's position on the origins of these pieces has never been fully examined in public. Why would a collection of that value be treated, effectively, as politically untouchable? That is the question. Now here's the detail that confirms this isn't simply about aesthetics. When Meghan Markle requested the Greville Emerald Kokoshnik for her 2018 wedding, the answer from the Queen was no. 6 months later, Princess Eugenie wore it. The palace offered no substantive explanation for the difference. But Hugh Roberts, in his authoritative work, The Queen's Diamonds, documents how precisely Elizabeth managed the narrative attached to significant pieces in the collection. Which jewel was seen on which occasion, which person's wearing of it would create which association in the public record, which moment would attach which story to which object, permanently. That is not the decision-making of someone choosing jewelry. That is the decision-making of someone managing history. The Greville Emerald carries a biography that Elizabeth understood completely, and whoever decides when it returns to public visibility decides which part of that biography gets remembered. She kept that decision in her hands for 70 years. But not every piece she refused carried a political shadow. Some carried something harder to name: the Kent Amethyst Parure, a complete suite of deep violet amethysts set in gold and diamonds, commanding necklace, earrings, 3 brooches, hair combs. When Elizabeth inherited the full set in 1952, its replacement value, even then, was estimated at several £100,000. In 2026 terms, specialists place the complete parure at somewhere between £4 and £6 million. She wore it exactly once, a state visit to Portugal in 1985, 33 years into her reign. And even then, observers noted something that body language specialists who reviewed archival footage have described as visible endurance, not discomfort, something more controlled than that, as though she were carrying the set rather than wearing it. After Portugal, she dismantled it. Necklace, back in the box. Earrings, back in the box. She kept one single brooch, stripped of its pendant drops, reducing an entire parure worth millions to something barely larger than a pin. The official reason is the color, purple. In British royal tradition, amethyst carries associations with mourning. Queen Victoria wore amethysts through her decades of public grief after Albert died in 1861. As Evans and multiple royal historians document, that symbolism embedded itself in royal consciousness for over a century, which is real, which is documented. But here's what that explanation doesn't account for. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever been required to wear something you found unbearable because someone else decided it was your duty? For Elizabeth, jewelry was armor, every piece, a carefully chosen signal, a layer of control over what the world was allowed to see. Royal biographer Robert Lacey, in his work The Crown, the Official Companion, describes how Elizabeth used her visual presentation as a primary instrument of political communication. The brooch worn on the left rather than the right, the color chosen to echo a host nation's flag, the pearls worn instead of diamonds when diamonds would have communicated the wrong kind of authority. Now look at the 1985 Portugal visit. What the body language analysts consistently note is not that she was uncomfortable with the stones themselves, it's that she appeared to be performing compliance with an object whose message she fundamentally disagreed with. Because Elizabeth II spent 70 years as a monarch who was not permitted to grieve visibly. When her father died unexpectedly in February 1952, the machinery of monarchy continued without a single visible pause. She was 25 years old. When Diana died in 1997 and the country fractured, Elizabeth was criticized, nationally, publicly, ferociously, for not appearing to feel enough, for maintaining the composure that her entire reign had been constructed upon. She spent 70 years managing what a woman in power was allowed to feel, what she was permitted to show, what had to remain permanently in the private dark. And the amethysts were asking her to wear her mourning on the outside, in a color that would have spoken a truth she had never once been given permission to tell. The parure wasn't locked away because of tradition. It was locked away because wearing it fully would have said something she was never allowed to say. The Diamond Bandeau carries a completely different weight, not political shadow, not suppressed grief, something more personal than either of those things. It began as a modest brooch, gifted to the young Princess Victoria, Mary of Teck, in 1893 by the people of Lincolnshire. Simple stones, a gesture of public affection. The kind of object that carries warmth rather than power. Decades later, as Queen Mary, she commissioned Garrett, the official crown jeweler, who has served the royal family since 1843, to transform that brooch into something architectural. 11 sections of brilliant cut diamonds in precise Art Deco geometry, the original brooch at the center, the sentimental heart of something now designed to project modern authority. Queen Mary died in 1953. She left it to Elizabeth. Elizabeth never wore it. 65 years, not once. Royal jewellery historians, including Lauren Keener of the Court Jeweller, who has tracked the British Royal Collection for over 15 years, concluded it must have been damaged or quietly dismantled. It accumulated the specific mystery of objects that exist in records but not in photographs. And then in May 2018, Meghan Markle wore it on her wedding day. The Art Deco lines looked perfectly calibrated for the moment. Clean, modern, exactly right. Which forces the question the romantic version of this story never asks. Why did Elizabeth refuse it for 65 years? Here is what I think is actually happening. This tiara was Queen Mary's vision of what Elizabeth should become. Not just a jewel, a blueprint, an inheritance of expectation, as much as diamonds. As Robert Lacey documents, Queen Mary shaped her entire understanding of what monarchy required through a framework of imperial grandeur and visible authority. The bandeau was her idea of what modern queenship should look like, her specific projection onto the granddaughter who would inherit everything she had built. And Elizabeth was quietly building something Queen Mary had no framework to imagine. Less theatrical, less imperial. An authority constructed not on visual dominance, but on 60 years of continuous, unbroken, steady presence. To wear that tiara would have been to perform her grandmother's dream of her, rather than her own understanding of what she was doing. She was not willing to make that argument. For 65 years, until a woman arrived who could wear it in a century that could finally receive what Queen Mary had originally envisioned. The Delhi Durbar Tiara doesn't permit comfortable framing. Made in 1911 by Garrard, commissioned for Queen Mary to wear at the Delhi Durbar ceremony, the formal proclamation of King George V as Emperor of India. Tall, imposing, a circlet of thousands of diamonds, rising several inches above the head. It was not designed to be beautiful, it was designed to project ownership over a subcontinent, over hundreds of millions of people. When Garrard created it, the commission price was equivalent in today's terms to roughly £2 to £3 million. not for beauty, for political messaging rendered in precious stones. Elizabeth inherited it in 2002. The empire had been gone for decades. The Commonwealth had replaced it, a structure built on voluntary membership and equal partnership. Elizabeth had spent 50 years carefully repositioning the monarchy within that new framework. And now she had a tiara in her vault built to announce the precise opposite of everything she had spent 50 years constructing. She wore it once. Malta, 2005, a former British colony, now an independent Commonwealth nation. The symbolism was deliberate and precise, acknowledging the weight of empire in front of a country that had lived under it. And then never again. She had to put that tiara on her head, even once, feel the weight of what it was built to mean. Some objects carry a history so embedded in their structure that wearing them is never neutral. She knew that better than anyone, which is exactly why once was enough. But this is the part that no official report has ever addressed directly. In December 2019, just 3 years before her death, Elizabeth appeared at the annual Diplomatic Corps reception, wearing an emerald necklace that no royal jewelry historian had ever seen or documented. Not in the Garrard records, not in the published royal collection inventory, not in any publicly accessible heritage documentation. Lauren Keener of the Court Jeweller, who has tracked virtually every significant piece worn publicly by the British royal family for over a decade, immediately noted that the piece could not be identified from any known source. The palace made no comment. Private property, no public obligation to explain. The evening ended. The necklace returned to the dark. Now remember what we established earlier. The Greville trunk arrived in 1943 with over 60 pieces. We have confirmed provenance on a fraction of them. If a piece that size and quality can appear in 2019 with no documented history, how many other pieces are still sitting in that vault that the public has never seen? How many objects traveled through the hands of Marie Antoinette, of Empress Josephine, of Russian imperial courts before the revolutions swallowed everything and ended up in a black tin trunk because Margaret Greville collected them across 30 years of the most strategically cultivated social relationships in Europe? Objects that survived things humans didn't, sitting right now in the dark, 40 feet below a palace on the Mall. And we don't know what they are, or what they carry, or why some of them have never once been brought into the light. The Cartier Halo Tiara, London, 1944, the war still running. Elizabeth turning 18. Her mother gives her this tiara, made by Cartier in 1936, 16 diamond scrolls in delicate symmetry, valued today at somewhere between £3 and £5 million. Youthful, elegant, forward-looking, 8 years later, her father dies. She is 25. According to the diaries of Sir Alan Lascelles, private secretary to the king and later to Elizabeth herself, the speed of the transition left no space for private processing. The machinery of the state required immediate continuity, and from that moment, the tiara stayed in a box. She passes it to Margaret, then to Anne, eventually to Catherine Middleton for the 2011 wedding, 67 years after that wartime birthday. The sentimental version says generosity. The version that looks directly at what happened says something harder. The tiara was made for a version of Elizabeth that became unavailable to her at 25. The girl who received it still had a future that was at least partially her own. Keeping it in the vault would have meant seeing it every time the vault was opened, the evidence that a different life had once been coming. So she gave it away and watched for 67 years as other women inhabited the lightness it was built to hold. I don't think she found that uncomplicated. I think she found it necessary. Those are not the same thing. So what was actually wrong with the jewels she refused to wear? Nothing was wrong with them. The Greville Emerald alone, 15 to 20 million pounds. The Kent Amethyst Parure, 4 to 6 million. The Diamond Bandeau, 3 to 4 million. The Delhi Durbar Tiara, 2 to 3 million. The Cartier Halo, 3 to 5 million. Together, objects that in today's market represent the GDP of a small island economy. Extraordinary, irreplaceable, historically significant. but each one was asking her to carry something she had decided, quietly, deliberately, permanently, was not hers to carry in public. The Greville Emerald, the documented biography of its commissioner, the amethysts, the grief she was never allowed to show, the Diamond Bandeau, her grandmother's inherited vision of who she should become, the Delhi Durbar, the honest weight of empire, the Cartier Halo, the proof of a version of herself she had been required to abandon. She understood, with a precision that neither official biographers nor royal correspondents have ever fully credited, that a monarch doesn't project power only through what she chooses to display. She projects it through what she chooses to withhold. The vault wasn't storage. The vault was the argument. Every jewel she locked away was a calculated act of control, over narrative, over memory, over what story the world was permitted to tell about her reign. She wasn't avoiding these objects. She was managing them. The Greville Emerald blazing in chapel light after nearly a century in darkness. The Diamond Bandeau on a 21st century bride. The Cartier Halo after 67 years of waiting. Each one released at a moment she chose. Each release part of a narrative she had been quietly composing for decades. The vault was never storage. It was editorial control. And the jewels she refused to wear were never hidden. They were held, deliberately, on her terms, or not at all. Some objects were never meant to be owned. They were meant to be survived, held at a careful distance, until someone understood exactly what releasing them would mean, and chose the moment, deliberately, on their own terms, or not at all. The question was never why she refused to wear them. The question is, what would have happened if she did?